The roar of the airplane engine faded, replaced by the unfamiliar symphony of a bustling American airport. Stepping onto foreign soil, Gene carried the weight of his dreams and the lightness of his wallet, a mere $200 to his name.
I had journeyed far from the bustling streets of Beijing, leaving behind the comfort of family and familiarity, all for the pursuit of a future brighter than I could have imagined in China.
America, the land of opportunity, beckoned with the promise of a world-class education, a chance to become a renowned surgeon. But for now, the reality was far less glamorous.
The cacophony of voices, a confusing blend of languages I couldn't decipher, only amplified the isolation gnawing at my resolve.
Fear, a constant companion in these initial days, whispered doubts into his heart. Would he make it? Could he, a young man armed with nothing but ambition and a smattering of English, truly carve a place for himself in this strange and overwhelming new world?
The answer, I knew, lay in my own hands. I had come too far, sacrificed too much to turn back now. He would succeed.
Navigating the labyrinthine streets of New York City, Jian clung tightly to the address scribbled on a crumpled piece of paper. It was the headquarters of the U.S.-China Friendship Association, his lifeline in this unfamiliar land.
A wave of relief washed over me as I stumbled upon the nondescript building, its warm yellow door a beacon of hope.
Inside, he was greeted with smiles and the comforting aroma of jasmine tea. They spoke his language, understood his dreams, and offered him something invaluable, a place to stay, a community to embrace him.
The families associated with the organization, a diverse group united by their passion for fostering cross-cultural understanding, welcomed me into their homes.
Living with these families provided more than just a roof over his head. It offered a crash course in American culture. He learned the true meaning of generosity and the power of human connection. The aroma of sizzling garlic and soy sauce filled the air, a familiar and comforting scent that transported Jian back to the bustling night markets of Beijing. He had found work at a small Chinese restaurant in Chinatown, its dimly lit interior a stark contrast to the glitz and glamour of the city outside.
It wasn't glamorous washing dishes, bussing tables, the occasional prep work, but it was honest work, and it paid the bills.
Each night his hands, raw and pruned from hours spent submerged in soapy water, worked tirelessly.
I saved every penny I earned, meticulously recording my expenses in a small, worn notebook.
The restaurant became his training ground, teaching him valuable lessons that extended far beyond the kitchen. He learned the importance of hard work, the value of perseverance, and the dignity of all labor. And in the faces of his fellow dishwashers, many of them immigrants chasing their own versions of the American dream, he found a sense of solidarity. Leaving the restaurant late at night, the city's glittering skyline, a constant reminder of both his aspirations and his current reality, Jian would head back to his basement room. It was small, damp, and perpetually shrouded in a musty odor, but it was his, a sanctuary from the chaos of the city.
I had rented the room after my 3-month stay with the families from the association. It was a tight squeeze, but it offered me a semblance of independence, a place to call my own.
His meager possessions, a second-hand mattress, a rickety desk, a single photograph of his family filled the cramped space. He cooked his own meals, his culinary repertoire limited to the cheapest ingredients he could find at the local grocery store. Ramen noodles, their salty broth a poor substitute for his mother's lovingly prepared soups, became a staple.
There were nights when the loneliness was deafening, when the weight of my sacrifices threatened to crush my spirit.
But then he would pull out the photograph of his parents, their faces creased with smiles, their eyes shining with pride, and he would remember why he was here. Their sacrifices, their unwavering belief in him fueled his determination. He would succeed.
Seeking solace and a sense of belonging in this foreign land, I found myself drawn to a small church nestled in the heart of Chinatown.
Sundays offered a brief respite from the relentless grind of his daily life.
Inside, the air buzzed with a quiet energy. The familiar melodies of hymns, sung in English and accented Mandarin, filled the sanctuary, their message of hope and redemption resonating deep within me.
He didn't understand all the words, but the emotions transcended language. Here, surrounded by fellow believers, he felt a sense of peace, a connection to something larger than himself. One crisp Sunday morning, as Jan sat in his usual pew, the worn hymnal open in his lap, he noticed a woman he hadn't seen before. Her silver hair was pulled back in a neat bun, her kind eyes crinkled at the corners as she smiled warmly at those around her. She exuded an aura of quiet strength and genuine compassion, and Jan couldn't help but feel drawn to her gentle energy.
After the service, as the congregation mingled, exchanging greetings and sharing news, I found myself standing next to the woman. Mustering my courage, I introduced myself. "Hello," I said, my English heavily accented but sincere. "My name is Jian."
The woman's smile widened and her eyes sparkled with warmth. "It's lovely to meet you, Jan," she replied. "I'm Mrs. Thompson."
A simple exchange of names, a brief encounter in the bustling hallway of a small church, yet it was a moment that would forever alter the course of Jan's life.
I shared my own dreams of becoming a surgeon, my voice filled with a mixture of hope and resignation.
Mrs. Thompson listened intently, her gaze never wavering, her expression a mix of empathy and admiration. As the weeks turned into months, Jan and Mrs. Thompson's Sunday conversations became a cherished ritual. They would settle into a quiet corner of the church basement, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air, and share stories.
I spoke of my family, my childhood in China, the sacrifices I had made to pursue my dreams. I described the challenges I faced navigating a new culture, the loneliness of being so far from home, the constant financial struggles that threatened to derail my aspirations.
Mrs. Thompson, in turn, shared stories of her own life. She spoke of her late husband, a carpenter who had built their family home with his own two hands. She talked about the joys and challenges of raising her son, his dedication to his medical career, the pride she felt watching him achieve his dreams.
Their conversations, though separated by a generational divide and vastly different life experiences, revealed a shared humanity.
Mrs. Thompson, with her gentle nature and unwavering belief in Jan's potential, became a source of strength and inspiration. And in her presence, Jan felt seen, heard, and valued for the determined young man he was. One Sunday, as Jan and Mrs. Thompson were wrapping up their weekly conversation, she turned to him, her eyes twinkling with a mix of mischief and determination.
"You know, John," she began, "my son is looking for a new assistant at his clinic. He's a surgeon, you know, just like you want to be."
Jan's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the break he had been praying for?
"I know it's not much," Mrs. Thompson continued, handing him a business card. "But it's a start. My son believes in giving people a chance, especially those who are willing to work hard and chase their dreams. Why don't you give him a call? Tell him Mrs. Thompson sent you."
As Jan held the card in his hand, his fingers tracing the embossed letters of the clinic's name, he felt a surge of emotions wash over him. Gratitude, hope, a renewed sense of purpose. It wasn't the prestigious surgical residency he had envisioned, but it was a foot in the door.
I realized, with a newfound clarity, that sometimes the path to our dreams is not a straight line, but a winding road filled with unexpected detours and serendipitous encounters.
It was a chance to learn from a renowned surgeon, an opportunity to prove himself. He realized with a newfound clarity that sometimes the path to our dreams is not a straight line, but a winding road filled with unexpected detours and serendipitous encounters. He would seize this opportunity. The next morning, armed with his resume, a heart full of hope, and Mrs. Thompson's unwavering belief in him, Jan walked into the clinic. He was no longer just a dishwasher, a nameless face in the crowd. He was Jan, the aspiring surgeon, the determined young man who had crossed an ocean and conquered countless obstacles in pursuit of his dreams.
The interview was nerve-wracking, a blur of medical terminology and questions about my limited experience. But through it all, my passion shone through.
And as he left the clinic that day, the weight of uncertainty lifted from his shoulders, replaced by a cautious optimism. The journey ahead would be long and arduous, filled with its own set of challenges and triumphs. But Jian was no stranger to hard work, to perseverance, to overcoming adversity. He had come so far, transformed from a wide-eyed young man fresh off the plane to a seasoned survivor. He was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, to seize every opportunity, to never again let go of his dreams. For Jian, the journey from surgeon to dishwasher to, well, that was a story yet to be written, a future ripe with possibilities.